Welcome back, everybody. This is my second video about the Battlestar Galactica Viper Mark 7. And today is going to be a little bit different. This is going to be a little bit of a tutorial about painting and weathering the Viper and other kind of sci-fi ships. Now, the build I'll be doing will be a clean build with a custom paint job. But I thought as I was making videos about the Viper, I might as well do a video where I show you how I did the paint job on this. This is my Viper Mark 7, really based upon the TV show, kind of with a paint job accurate to the TV show with lots of wear and tear and paint chipping. So in today's tutorial, we're going to be taking this bare piece of plastic. This is the unassembled top piece of the Viper. We are going to just use it as a painting tutorial piece. So we'll paint this unassembled to show you how to do the paint job on a Viper Mark 7 if you want it to be chipped and weathered and kind of battered like it was in the TV show. Here's what we're going to need. We're going to need some Tamiya acrylic chrome silver. We're going to need a blue-gray Tamiya. Once again, it needs to be an acrylic. So this is a color I whip up. It works on a lot of sci-fi ships, TIE fighters, Vipers, Star Trek Voyager, the Enterprise C. It is a gray, usually sky gray, mixed with a little bit of sky blue, just to get it to be a nice kind of blue-gray color. Next, you're going to need to switch to oils. We have an oil wash here. This is a enamel stain, oil-based. Along with that, you'll need an enamel thinner to clean up that oil. And finally, we're going to be wrapping up with a chalky pastel. Our first step is going to take our Tamiya chrome silver and acrylic paint. We're going to paint the entire ship nicely, evenly into that chrome silver. So our ship is now a very nice chrome silver, which will be kind of the bare metal for our Viper. And here's where the fun starts. So we're taking some water. We are just kind of misting it over the ship so it's nice and wet. And now we're going to start thinking about where we want our base coat, the paint job of the Viper. Where do we want that to be chipped away back down to this bare metal? We're going to take our table salt, and we're just going to start putting it on the model anywhere we think that paint might get chipped away. So we're going to start here kind of on the nose. We'll lay down a little bit of salt. I really feel like a lot of these leading edges, figure a lot of abuse happens there. So we're just going to put a little bit of salt right about there. Definitely the leading edge of these wings. And maybe the ship took a big hit back here that knocks off a whole bunch of the paint down to the bare metal. Now, hopefully this is a short video, but it's kind of a long process because, you know, I painted the chrome silver. Had to make sure that dried and cured really well, so waited about 8 hours. Now we're going to wait overnight for all the water to dry, and then we'll just have kind of the salt adhered to the ship. All right, here we are the next morning. We've got our ship nicely salted, and it's time to airbrush it with our base paint color. Now this will probably take a couple coats. Since the Tamiya acrylic is kind of water-based, it does react to the salt a little bit on the first coat. So you'll probably have to go over it once or twice. After we're sure the paint is completely dry, we're going to get some warm water and a very soft brush. And we're just going to start removing that salt. If any of it's tough to come off, just let it sit with a drop of water on it for a few minutes, and then it'll come off very easily. A lot of people use hairspray to adhere the salt, and that hairspray kind of provides a layer between the paint and the salt and makes it come off very easily. I've never tried that. I've always been pretty successful just using water. Now that all of our acrylic layers are done, we're going to move on to doing a panel line wash. So this is where that enamel stain comes in. All right, we are on to step 4, where we clean up our wash. So you can see it looks kind of real rough and dirty right now, but that's okay, because we're just going to use a little bit of enamel thinner on a Q-tip, and it comes right off. Probably do it a couple times to make sure it's really clean. But you can just see that little bit of thinner on a Q-tip just takes it off. We'll leave it just inside those panel lines. Now, since this is going to be a heavily weathered chip, I don't have to get everything that clean. As I'm pulling back kind of the excess stain, I can leave it as streaks. So if you can see there, right there, I'm pulling it back, and we'll leave some streaking and some dirt off of those panel lines. We'll clean up a lot of the big globs, but we'll kind of leave it with a little bit of streaking. Now that the wash is done, we're going to move on to our last step. Since every other layer has been kind of wet and greasy, we're going to move on to some dry, chalky pastels. Just kind of load them up onto an old brush. And once again, this is all just weather to taste. So do it how much you like. But I kind of feel this part here where we've kind of let a big chipping as if it's had a big blast. We're going to add a little bit here. Just kind of darken it up. We're going to come up to these little thrusters. We'll add a little bit of soot here. Got these maneuvering thrusters in back. We'll add a little bit. Maybe we'll come around to a part where there isn't much chipping and just add kind of some scorching and such here. And a lot of this will brush off, so we'll just kind of go a little bit heavy. All right, those are the steps I take on my sci-fi models. If they are something like a ship from Battlestar Galactica where they are beaten and battered and aged and weathered and part of a lived-in universe, so you can really see that bare metal showing through where the paint is chipped. You can see the scorches from battles. Let's look at it on a few completed models. And of course, let's go right to our completed Viper. Now that you've seen me go through the steps, you can see all of those techniques put to use on this one. It looks a ton better on a completed model with completed decals, but you can see the chipped paint, you can see the panel lines, you can see the extra dust and soot, and you can see how much better it looks on a completed kit. And of course, on something like an X-Wing, we're going through all those same steps. So you can see we start off with some chrome silver. We salt it. Then we do the base color, the off-white. Then we salt it again. Then we do the marking colors. So if you look closely, you'll be able to see some parts here we salted on the silver layer, and you can see silver coming through. Some of them we salted on the off-white, so you can see the off-white coming through. And then I did some panels where they were just done after all of the salting to kind of say, hey, that's a replacement panel. It hasn't shipped or been battered down yet. Same thing on the wing. You can see a little bit of silver. You can see some off-white. Then you can see those replacement panels, no chipping on those. But you can see the panel line washes. You can see the soot. And I think it lends itself very well to these battered old ships. The X-Wing has more layers. You do more of the same steps. But it's really exactly what I've shown in the video here on how I finish an X-Wing. Now, because I already do have a pretty nice Mark 7 Colonial Viper, I don't feel that my new build has to be in these same colors. So we're going to take all that paint off and kind of undo everything I've done in the video. Every day online, I see people ask the same question: how do you take paint off of a part? And people go in and they start answering with all sorts of suggestions without even asking what kind of paint the person used. And anybody giving advice about how to take off paint without asking that question should really back up for just a second, because there's different ways to take off different paint. When it comes to Tamiya acrylic, all you need is Windex. I use this to clean my airbrush. I use it to clean my brushes when I use with the acrylic. And if I have a part I need to strip, once again, just Windex. Now, the Windex is going to take off most of the paint. I may still have some of the oil paint in the creases. Oil paint, you just take off with oil-based thinners. So enamel thinner will take off that panel line wash, but Windex is really going to be all you need to take off Tamiya acrylic. So you can get a big gallon Ziploc bag, put the part in it that you need to take the paint off of, put a little bit of Windex in it, and that Windex is just going to remove that paint. You can already see right down there, we're already down to that bare tan plastic. Yep, 3 days to put it on, 30 seconds to take it off. All right, guys, that is going to wrap up my tutorial and my video on painting and weathering ships like this, the Battlestar Galactica Viper Mark 7. Hopefully it was an interesting video. I'm sure you guys have kind of seen techniques like these before, but I'm hoping maybe it gave you an idea of what you can do on builds like this. These are certainly not the only things you can do to paint a ship like this. There are many, many techniques out there. And I'd say expose yourselves to as many different techniques as you can. Really see what works well for you. Once again, these are the techniques that work well for me. And I'm quite happy when I look at a model like this that has the finished results like this. And this video shows you what I did to get them. Now, of course, my Viper build that I'm doing for real, the one I just started getting ready by cleaning off all that paint, it's going to be done with custom colors. It probably will not be weathered like this. So the videos coming up on the channel will be about that new build. I have to do a little bit of reverse engineering. I have to figure out exactly how I did these electronics to kind of do that lit instrument panel. All the electronics, of course, are hidden under the landing gear. We have kind of lit guns there. And of course, lit thrusters. So please stay tuned to the channel. I will be doing quite a few more videos on the Battlestar Galactica Viper as I build up my next build, that custom Viper. Thank you guys very much for following the channel, and I will be back very soon.